It's time for another part of this alternate history series. Hello everyone, this is American 3071 with another video for you, and today we will be moving forward with the alternate timeline of British colonization of plague-weakened India. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe and check out my channel for more content. Now with all that advertising stuff out of the way, let's continue with the story. We last left off with the British and Sikh Empire uniting forces to subjugate the Emir of Afghanistan. While this war was going on, the British were dealing with another crisis unfolding farther east, the Opium Wars. Back in the 1840s, Britain had won a decisive victory against the Chinese and forced them to sign treaties favorable to Britain. This was meant to help the British handle their trade deficit with the Qing Empire. However, the treaty had ultimately left both sides relatively unhappy. Britain wanted greater access to Chinese markets, and the Chinese chafed under a treaty that forced them into an unfavorable position with the British. Both sides were ready for another conflict, and the opportunity came in 1856. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail regarding this war, as this series is supposed to focus primarily on India and the events going on there. But we will just say that certain British diplomats and Chinese officials acted in ways that were motivated by unresolved disputes from the First Opium War, which inevitably led to the Second Opium War. I know, very specific there. When the war kicked off, India was embroiled in the Afghan conflict. The colonies of Bengal and Madras, along with the Raj, had their hands tied financially in dealing with the ongoing Afghan-Sikh war, and so could not afford a war in China as well. So, in order to bolster recruitment, London decided to foot the bill themselves and let the Indian governments deal with their local war. The first engagement occurred in Canton, where in 1857 a substantial Anglo-Indian force arrived to aid the current British troops already battering the Chinese. The Anglo-Indian troops, numbering 20,000 men, easily stormed the city, overwhelming the Chinese defenders. After waiting several months at the city for reinforcements, the British forces sailed inland with 30,000 troops, another 10,000 left behind in Canton to provide a strong base of operations. However, these British troops get orders from higher up to turn around and return back to Canton. While Britain has the capacity to steamroll China militarily, that point is being used by the other great powers, Russia, France, and America among them, to unite and put pressure on Britain to not go any further and gain a monopoly over China and her trade, thereby becoming the undisputed Asian power. London's orders instead focus on attacking the island of Formosa. British naval supremacy, thanks in large part to Anglo-Indian shipyards so close to the main theater of war, ensures that Formosa, or Taiwan as we call it nowadays, is completely isolated from the Qing. Anglo-Indian troops quickly seized the main ports of Keelung, Tamsui, Takao, and the Qing capital of the island, Anping, within a matter of months. From here, Britain halts any further offensive action. Seeing the Russians moving in from the north, and French naval vessels showing up in larger numbers, London knows it is best to take the win now before they are checked by other great powers. The Qing, for their part, are so alarmed by the large British forces and the incredible ease they had in pushing aside Chinese troops that they decide to make peace with Britain before things get out of hand. The treaty between London and Beijing is one that helps to solve Britain's trade issues without compromising Qing attitudes on opium. Ever since Bengal and Madras had started generating revenue for the crown in taxes and exports, London's reliance on the opium trade to balance out China and the costs of maintaining India had been steadily diminishing. In this new Treaty of Edo, where the two powers signed their peace agreement, the Qing cede Taiwan to Britain and lease Canton, or Hong Kong. The acquisition of Taiwan allows for London to start their own manufacturing of Chinese goods and significantly reduces their reliance on Chinese exports. This treaty also has the British gain access to many southern ports, though the north is closed off to other great powers to balance London's power in the region. Britain in return agrees to honor the ban on opium in China, and London quickly sends word to the Raj to cease production of the substance. The Second Opium War thus comes to a swift and sudden end. China still maintains some semblance of independence, with their crackdown on opium and British interests shifting in the region. London, meanwhile, begins to heavily focus on turning Taiwan into a cash colony, much like Jamaica. Importation of indentured servants from the Raj, as well as laborers and settlers from Bengal and Madras, quickly flood the island to begin cultivation of crops like tea. This, along with cotton production in India returning to normal, helps to give London little interest in America when it falls into civil war. Following the conclusion of this war, France, who had been sidelined during the conflict, found British power in the region a threat to their own interests. Thus, an enigmatic Napoleon III, who had just gained power in Paris a few years back, sees aggressive colonization in the region the only viable way to counterbalance the British. Napoleon would have his opportunity with the region of Indochina, as the execution of Catholic missionaries gives France the pretext to go to war with Da Nang and inevitably annex its three southern provinces to form Cochin China. Once they gained a foothold, the French sent thousands of settlers to the region in order to try and mimic the results of what happened in Bengal and Madras, though this has more pushback from the natives. And that is where we will leave things. British territory has expanded in Asia. France seeks to replicate the success of Bengal, Madras, and Indochina. And the great power is looking at London more warily thanks to their phenomenal success against the Chinese in the Second Opium War. In the next video, I'm going to talk about American moves in the region as well as Japan's reaction to all this going on.